21-year-old Brock Turner left Santa Clara County's main jail after serving just 3 months of his 6-month sentence for a variety of charges, including assault with intent to commit rape. The All-American swimmer was convicted of assaulting a woman who was unconscious and intoxicated outside a fraternity house at Stanford University last year.
High-profile campus sexual assault. A former Stanford swimmer convicted of 3 felonies after attacking an unconscious young woman. But it was his 6-month sentence that provoked national outrage. Now, after serving just half his jail term, he's free.
It had been a short jail sentence, but Brock Turner's walk to freedom seemed long, opening the jailhouse door today with a bang. The former Stanford swimmer hustling through the gauntlet of reporters hurling questions at him.
Notice how every report stated how Brock Turner was a former Stanford swimmer or a former all-star swimmer. Not once was he referred to as a rapist. But unfortunately, it doesn't stop there. This rapist was referred to as a former research scientist. This rapist was referred to as a white Iowa teenager. And this rapist was referred to as a former University of Colorado student. According to Cornell University, the term rape culture refers to all things that allow rape to seem normal and that prevent survivors from being able to speak up about their personal experiences of rape, sexual assault, and other forms of sexual violence and harassment. Rape culture occurs when blame is placed on the victim. Sexual assault is trivialized, false rape report statistics are inflated, and women are taught to avoid getting raped. Although many argue that rape culture is fictitious, rape culture, especially in women, does exist in our society today and is not some theory that needs to be dismissed. One example of rape culture are rapists going unpunished despite the evidence held against them.
Jeffrey Joel Abrams pleaded guilty to 8 counts of sexual penetration of an unconscious person, 3 counts of sexual battery, and 1 count of possession of child pornography. The 68-year-old Abrams, who was barred from ever practicing medicine again, was sentenced to 25 years and 8 months, but Judge Laura Halgren suspended the entire term and ordered the doctor to serve just 1 year of house arrest instead.
Baffled, Courtney Andrews says there's just no other way to describe how she feels after hearing that the man convicted of raping her repeatedly since she was 13 years old will somehow avoid jail. This week, an Alabama judge sentenced her attacker, 25-year-old Austin Clem, to a total of 30 years behind bars, but he suspended those sentences, opting to give Clem community corrections, equivalent to house arrest. Clem still has to register as a sex offender.
Both men were found guilty and convicted of rape, yet the judge on their case suspended their term and gave them both house arrest instead. Another example of rape culture is victim blaming. Victim blaming is a devaluing act that occurs when the victims of a crime or an accident is held responsible for the crimes that have been committed against them.
But what did she expect to happen at 1 a.m. in the morning after sneaking out? I'm not saying, assuming that these facts are accurate and this did happen, I'm not saying that she deserved to be raped.
The judge, in a rape case, asked the woman who was a rape victim, quote, I don't want to get this one wrong, why couldn't you just keep your knees together? End quote.
Justice Dewar convicted Kenneth Rhodes of a 2006 sexual assault in Thompson, Manitoba, but he didn't send him to jail. Instead, he gave him a 2-year conditional sentence and partially blamed the victim. During sentencing last week, Justice Dewar said, 2 women, one dressed in a tube top, both of whom were made up and wore high heels, made their intentions publicly known that they wanted to party. He said the victim gave out signals that sex was in the air.
But some people still refuse to acknowledge that rape culture exists.
Tells women that the length of their skirt determines how truthful their claims of sexual violence are. This is probably one of the most annoying feminist strawmans to me.
No one actually thinks that way. I've never even heard anyone outside of trolls on the internet use that argument, but yet feminists are constantly trying to counter it. Nice straw man, Kat.
We need to stop blaming the victim and start blaming the rapist. Rapists should be punished accordingly and not given a slap on the wrist.
It's never your fault. It's never, ever, ever your fault. The way you dress, the way you talk, how drunk you are, it doesn't matter. If you say no, I don't want to do this, and they continue to do what you didn't want them to do, it is not your fault. It is always going to be their fault. Always.
We have to throw the mindset that excuses a sexual assault by saying boys will be boys, it's just the way it is. We have to ensure that survivors' right to justice is always paramount above everything else, including the perpetrator or the school's reputation. There is never, let me say this again, never, never, never a cultural justification for dehumanizing another human being. Never, 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 never.